Yes.
Unfortunately, I can't hear you. Hello, Mr. Witness?
Yeah, cancel.
Okay, I can hear you now. I was told I don't need the headphones, but I guess I do. But I can hear you
Yeah.
very clearly. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for coming back. We apologize for that technical hitch with the sound that happened
You're welcome.
before.
Okay.
Are you
Thank
ready
you.
to proceed?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. May I just remind you that your affirmation that you made still stands earlier on in the
Okay.
morning? Okay. May I just go through some of the salient points of your testimony and just do a brief recap so that we can follow on from earlier on? That would be
Okay.
easier in light of the interruptions that happened. I believe you provided your personal background as well as your educational history and your professional background as a teacher, as well as a little bit about your political background. You mentioned the fact
Yeah.
that you were elected as a National Assembly member for the APRC party,
Yeah.
and I believe you were the first APRC candidate for your constituency in 2001. You became the first
That's right.
APRC candidate for your constituency.
Right.
Yes. Before we broke off, you were telling us some of the challenges that you had as a National Assembly member in Parliament. You experienced a lot of difficulties and challenges, and there were attacks on your independence in executing your parliamentary duties and acting in the best interest of your constituency. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Before we broke off, you were just telling us about some of the ministries that were overseeing the activities of the National Assembly. I think it would be good for you just to repeat those, and then we can continue from there.
Exactly.
All right,
I
thank
will.
you. All right. Please go ahead.
Yes, as I said, the National Assembly was under the supervision of the Ministry of Justice by then. From the Ministry of Justice, again, we were transferred under the Minister of Works and Communication under the leadership of Balagaba Jahupa, then the Minister of Works and Communication. To me, I think it was in good because the National Assembly should be an overfunction body that oversees all the executive and other institutions. So if we are put under a ministry, then our portfolio, I think, is compromised.
All right, thank you. Are you saying that the National Assembly, which was tasked to hold the executive into account, was actually instead being monitored and supervised by the executive?
Exactly, that was what was going on by then.
In your view, was this lawful or constitutional?
It was unconstitutional, definitely.
What was the position of the legislature in the government? Can you just describe the position of the legislature branch, please?
That was to rectify a bill and scrutinize government where the need arise, taking the government into account on certain issues or matters. Yeah, not only government but all other institutions, both private and yeah, government institutions.
Is it also correct that the legislature branch was a separate arm of government and it was independent from all other branches?
Exactly, exactly. But in the case of Yajame, it was not like that.
Please tell us how it was like.
Yeah, Yajame would do everything possible to make sure that we are under his control or under the control of certain individual ministry. So whatever happens, he instruct a minister concerned or the majority leader by then, Honorable Baba Job, to call us into caucus and relay certain information that the president would want us to do.
Can you please describe what a caucus is?
Yeah, a caucus is a joint meeting whereby only National Assembly member for the ruling parties will meet. Yeah, excluding the opposition parties. And then they will discuss certain government interests that they would want us to ratify when the need arise.
Did the executive succeed in undermining the independence of the National Assembly in your view?
Yeah, they do. Definitely, they do.
You also mentioned various instances of intimidation and harassment by the NIA. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was there any other government agency or were there any activities that were designed to actually undermine your independence and also monitor your activities?
Exactly. We have a case where when Yaya Jammeh wanted to increase the salaries of ministers, and this point of time we were called to Palm Grove Hotel for a meeting, caucus meeting. Then he said to us that the intention of the coming bill is that the president would want to increase the salary of ministers to 25,000 and there's telephone allowance to 7,000. Before then, I posted a parliamentary question to the Minister of Finance concerned. By then it was Farmer Rajata, asking him whether the government is intending to increase civil servant salary. If yes, at what percentage? The minister's response was that, the budget situation as at now is very poor. They cannot increase salaries. Only 6% will be increased. Yeah. Few months later, Yaya Jammeh sent another bill in Parliament for a supplementary, especially at the Office of the President. We budgeted 98 million for Office of the President by then. Within 6 months, that was exhausted. And we needed a supplementary bill again on that. That was where we wanted to reject the bill. Then, on that note, the minister happened to call Yaya Jammeh on that evening to tell him that MPs are refusing to approve your bill. Then he said we should suspend sitting and go and meet him in State House. We did. We went to State House to meet him. And when we arrived, we were seated at the cabinet room. Then we asked all journalists to go out. Security forces go out. And the GRTS, no coverage, go out. Then he started addressing us. This was insult. He was raining on us. He was insulting us. No good, no bad. Telling us, who are we? When he was taking his government, by then some of us were on our beds. Now he did what he did, wanted to improve his minister's salary, and then we are saying no. If we refuse to approve this budget, tomorrow some of us will be on the street finding jobs. And that being the case also, he will sit for 6 months without paying salaries. And if anything happens in the country, will be the MP's responsibility, not his responsibility. Yes, that being the case, then we were threatened, and then we went back to the House of Assembly to approve the bill unanimously. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Witness, can we just take a few steps back and just clarify some issues. You mentioned that there was a supplementary bill on the table to increase the salaries of certain ministers. A budget of 98 million had been approved for State House or President's Office, and that had been depleted within a period of 6 months. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay, and based on the recommendations of the then Minister, Famara Jata, the Minister of Finance in particular, who said that the economy was actually not in a good state, the MPs, including most of the APRC MPs, were of the view that this was not a good move and they were not going to approve the bill. Is that correct?
Correct, Council.
Okay. When it was known or suspected that the APRC MPs were not going to approve the bill, did you mention that a meeting was called and by whom?
Yes, Baba Job and Sektijan Haidar, the then Minister responsible for National Assembly matters, called us at Palm Grove Hotel for a meeting to have in-house discussion about the bill.
And was that meeting engineered to actually influence the outcome of your vote at the National Assembly?
Exactly, exactly.
It is correct from what you said that when you decided that you were not going to vote for the bill, the minister then contacted the president, and that was when he called you to State House. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You also mentioned that after you met with the president and he threatened you with losing your seat in National Assembly by expelling you from the party, you basically did what he wanted and you voted the bill in despite the fact that you completely disagreed with it. Is that correct?
Exactly, that was correct.
Is it correct that he succeeded really in undermining the independence of the National Assembly and basically was in control of the legislature at this point?
Yes, because there was certain constitutional irregularities that then the National Assembly approved in 1997, that when you are expelled from your seat, you automatically lose your seat. When you are expelled from the party, you automatically lose your seat. That was the whole problem we have then.
So the MPs were afraid of losing their seats in Parliament, and that is why they agreed to whatever he wanted, whether it was good or bad for the country.
Yes.
I would like to ask you about other members of Parliament. It is correct that you are an elected member of Parliament. Are there any other kinds of members of Parliament appointed at the National Assembly?
Yes. Yeah, he had the prerogative after election to nominate certain individual in Parliament. That was what he did. The Speaker normally is nominated by the President with other female parliamentarian or males. People like Numa Satasane Bojang was nominated member. Sirif Mustafa Diba was a nominated member. Honorable Ramsia Diab was a nominated member. George Christine was a nominated member. So that's how it was.
Can you tell us what the difference was between an elected and a nominated member of Parliament?
Yes, normally what I think, elected members definitely do have certain rights over nominated members because we were elected by the majority in our constituency. And nominated members don't have constituency. You are nominated by the president, single out and nominated by the president. And when it comes to voting right also, definitely we should have voting right over them. But that was not the case. During debate, during voting, nominated members also vote. And they always vote in favor of the president because he appointed them as nominated members.
What was the relationship like between nominated members and the president who appointed them?
Yeah, their relationship was very cordial because you have to dance to his tune. He is the one who appointed you or nominated you as a member. So you have to dance to his tune. Whatever he said, or you have to be there promoting his agenda. That was the difference. And that was the problem we have in the House then.
Is it correct that despite being a nominated member of parliament, once you were appointed to parliament, you had a duty to be independent? And did that actually happen?
That's never happened. In Jawara's time, yes, it do happen. But then in the Ajame time, no. You are there to promote the Ajame agenda. Otherwise, yeah, you find yourself outside.
Can you give us any instances where perhaps you dealt with foreign bodies and what the reaction of the government was to that?
Yes, for instance, there was a very serious fire disaster in my constituency. About 12 houses were burned into ashes. I went to appeal to foreign donors for help. I approached the Taiwanese embassy then and the Canadian Fund and CRS. And their response was very positive. So taking this item to the constituency was a big problem for me because transport was not available then. I have to go to State House to appeal for a transport. I approached Inspector Malafisanyang then, the government control vehicle officer, and Musa Jammeh. Explained to them my problems and what I want from them. But their response was, look, we have to be very careful because hello?
Hello, Mr. Witness. We can hear you. Can you proceed?
Okay, he said, because some of the National Assembly members are in the habit of going to foreign agents, selling out government secret, and that doesn't go well with the president. He is very much annoyed with us. That's the time I moved out. We went to Tipagaras, looked for a private truck, hired it, and transported my items to the various constituency. Yes.
Was there any particular reason why the government reacted like this towards members of parliament? Why was the government so suspicious that members of the National Assembly would leak government information to foreign bodies?
Yes, that came of a reason that the crude oil saga, which Ahmad Ba addressed in parliament in those days, and there was a suspicious mind from the government that some MP might leak the information to Honorable Ahmad Ba. Very carefully went up to Nigeria to find out. But Yahya Jammeh thought that it was his own MPs who leaked the secret to Ahmad Ba. In fact, there was a problem with Yankuba Toure. Yankuba was coming to face parliament to answer certain questions by then he was the Minister of Local Government. I can fully remember a particular question was addressed concerning about this crude oil saga. Yankuba did say that anybody ask him about that crude oil saga, he will throw a grenade on you. Yes.
Who was Yankuba Toure then, and what was his position?
He was then the Minister for Local Government and Lands.
Can you just repeat where he actually made the threat of throwing a grenade on anyone who asked him that particular question?
No, this was made not at the National Assembly, but he made it at the political bureau when we meet at the bureau.
And who did he make it to? Who did he make the threat to?
All of us, all the MPs who were there, all the ruling MPs who were there.
Do you mean the APRC MPs?
The APRC MPs, yeah.
So the APRC government did not actually trust its own MPs?
Never, never.
Mr. Witness, unless you have something more to say, I would like to move on to the next topic, which is the March 2006 coup. But if you feel that there's anything that has been left out, please feel free to say so.
No, we can go ahead.
Very well, thank you. Do you remember where you were in March 2006?
Yeah, a difficult moment, definitely. Yes, I was in Jarajina attending an agricultural workshop. As you know, I serve under the Select Committee on Agriculture at the Parliament House. I was also part of the Select Committee on Education. And the Select Committee on Global Movement for Women and Children, and the NEPAD Committee. We were on a tour. We spent the night at Jara Junai Training Family Center. It was myself, Honorable Sidia Jata, Honorable Khalifa Kambi, Honorable Musa Balde, and Honorable Ablai Jallo. So we spent the night. In the evening, we head to Combos. Then when we arrived, that was on the 22nd, I decided to go to Jiboro to buy charcoal. On my way to Jiboro with my wife on the car, I was stopped at Yundum police station. Then I saw one of my students there standing. I called him and asked, Adama, what is going on here? I have seen so many checkpoints here on the road. He said to me, yesterday there was a coup attempt. Don't you know that? I said, no, never. Then I drive and pass, went to Jiboro. I bought charcoal, came back. I was in my home in the evening. Then my wife called me again inside the house. He said, come and see Ali Job. Ali Job is on TV talking. I said, Ali? He said, yes. Ali and Farmer Rajata, Captain Farmer Rajata. Yes. No, it's Captain Farmer Rajame, not Jata. Captain Farmer Rajame. I came, saw Ali on the TV and Captain Farmer Rajame and Kamsir Jase, Omar Falketa, Gunja Dabo, Yaya Y and Dabo. Then I just moved out. I went straight to Ali Job's compound to find out what's happened. But then the mother told me that he is under arrest. He had been arrested yesterday. I said, okay. And I was going front and back, going to my normal business, going to assembly, coming back, until on the 28th of March, when we were preparing to go to the provinces to attend our regional independence celebration.
I apologize for disrupting your testimony. I need to take you a little bit back just to seek some clarification on some issues. You mentioned the different people that were paraded on TV. I would like you to repeat who they were and just tell us, repeat their names and tell us who they were. In terms of the civilians, give us their positions, where they were from, and when it came to the military, give us their ranks and also their positions within the military. I would also like you just to elaborate on how you saw them on TV, in what state or condition they were in, and what impression you made after you watched that, when you watched that TV show.
Thank you, Council. I will start with the army officers. I saw Captain Bunja Dabo, then a personal secretary to the then CDS Nur Cham. And I saw Captain Yaya Y. and Dabo. Yaya Y. and Dabo was just newly transferred to Yundum from Farafenye. I saw Captain Wasa Kamara. Captain Wasa Kamara was the head of the military police at Yundum. I saw, again, who else? I think these are the military officers. Who?
Can I remind you, were there any other officers who came from other parts of the security service apart from the military that you saw on TV?
No, the one I am mentioning, they are all from the military. They are all from the military. Then we have the other military officers, but these people were not paraded on TV. That is Captain PJ Mendy, Captain Abdul Karim Jah, Captain Mamadou Lamin Bah, former Minister of Interior, and we have Second Lieutenant Farin Sanyang, explosive expert at the State House. Then we have Lance Corporal Babu Janha, Lance Corporal Alajin, Lance Corporal Sambaba, the athlete Yanko Bature then, and who else? Yes, these were the military officers.
Mr. Witness, just to seek clarification, the names that you have just mentioned were people that were subsequently arrested as suspected coup plotters. Is that correct?
Exactly. These were the military officers suspected, part of the coup plot. Then in the civilian side, you have myself, you have Ali Diop, the former Accountant General, you have Omar Falketa. These were at the civilian side. But then in the interim also we have MC Cham was part of us. Like Conte, the former KMC chairman was part of us. And you have Uncle Dia, he was also part of us. Honorable Baru Kamara, Honorable Omar Baru Kamara for Kantora District. And Honorable Ramsey Diab.
Thank you, Mr. Witness.
Yes.
Let's just go back to the people who were actually paraded on the TV, and then later on I will come back to clarify